Malibu, California. Saturday night, June 2010. The kind of evening where the Pacific Ocean turns black and silver under a half moon, and the air carries just enough salt to remind you exactly where you are. A private party at a hilltop mansion owned by a tech entrepreneur who made his fortune in software and spent it on exactly the kind of life software money buys. Glass walls, infinity pool, imported furniture, the whole display of wealth that men like this need others to witness. The party is celebrating something. A product launch, an acquisition, something that matters enormously in certain circles and means absolutely nothing to the rest of the world. 60 guests, maybe 70. The kind of crowd that fills rooms like this: entertainment industry people, tech money, a few athletes, some music industry figures, everyone successful, everyone important in their own ecosystem, everyone dressed in that specific way that says, I have money, but I'm pretending not to care about it. The carefully curated, casual look that actually costs more than formal wear. Mike Tyson is there as a guest of a mutual friend, someone who knows him well enough to extend an invitation, and someone the host knows well enough to accept it without question. Tyson is 43, heavier than his fighting days, wearing dark pants and a simple black shirt, no jewelry except a watch. He looks comfortable but slightly out of place, the way a wolf looks comfortable at a dinner party. Present. Aware. Watching everything without seeming to watch anything. He's near the edge of the pool area, drink in hand, water actually. Been sober for over a year now, talking to a woman who works in film production. The conversation is easy, pleasant. Tyson has learned to do this, to be social, to engage without the constant undercurrent of aggression that defined his younger years. He smiles occasionally, laughs when something is funny, looks genuinely interested in what she's saying. He's come a long way from the man who destroyed opponents and consumed everything in his path. Inside the house near the main bar, a group of men are drinking expensive bourbon and talking the way men talk at parties like this, loud enough to be heard, confident enough to be believed. The conversations are about money, about deals, about who knows who and who owes who and who's going to close what by the end of the quarter. Normal currency for this crowd. One of them, a real estate developer named Steven, is holding court near the bar. He's in his late 40s, built like someone who boxes recreationally, maybe 200 pounds of gym-maintained muscle, the kind of fitness that comes from personal trainers and expensive equipment, and enough free time to actually use both. He's tan, polished, wearing clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. His confidence is enormous, the confidence of someone who's made millions by being the smartest person in every room he's entered, and has the bank statements to prove it. Steven has been drinking for 2 hours. Not enough to be drunk, just enough to be loose, to say things he might edit during business hours. He's been watching Tyson from across the party all night, the way people watch celebrities at events, with fascination mixed with the need to diminish them somehow, to bring them down to a level that feels manageable. Steven says to the group around him, gesturing with his bourbon glass toward the pool area where Tyson stands talking to the woman, "You know who that is, right? Mike Tyson." The men nod. Of course they know. Everyone knows Mike Tyson. Steven continues, his tone carrying the casual dismissiveness of someone who's never been challenged on anything that mattered to him. He's just an ex-boxer. People act like he's royalty or something, like he's dangerous. The man's been retired for years. He's overweight, he's broke, he went to prison. He bit a man's ear off on national television. He's a joke, an entertainment act, nothing more. The men around him laugh, not because it's funny exactly, but because Steven is their host's close friend. And laughing when Steven talks is what you do at parties like this. The laughter encourages Steven. He keeps going. I mean, think about it. What has he actually done outside the ring? Nothing. He can't run a business, can't manage his own money, can't stay out of trouble. All he ever knew how to do was punch people in a box while millions of people watched. That's not intelligence, that's not discipline. That's a trained animal doing what it was trained to do. People confuse that with something impressive. It's not. It's just violence for money. Anyone with actual talent could have done what he did. The group laughs again. Steven feels validated, feels like he said something insightful, something that elevates his own status by bringing someone else's down. This is how it works in rooms like this. You don't build yourself up by talking about yourself. You build yourself up by talking about everyone else. Stephen doesn't notice the shift in the room, doesn't notice that the laughter has stopped, doesn't notice that the men around him have gone quiet, not because they agree with his assessment, but because they've seen something behind Stephen that he can't see, because his back is partially turned toward the pool area. Mike Tyson has walked inside. He didn't come in aggressively, didn't make an entrance, just moved from outside to inside the way you move through your own space naturally, without announcement. But he's close now, close enough to have heard what Stephen said. Maybe not every word, but enough words. Enough to understand the sentiment. Enough to know exactly what kind of conversation just happened about him. The woman Tyson was talking to has stayed outside. Tyson is alone now, standing about 8 feet from Stephen's group, a glass of water still in his hand. His expression is unreadable, not angry, not hurt, not anything that registers on the surface, just present, watching. Stephen turns, sees Tyson, and for 1 second, 1 fraction of a second, something flickers across his face. Recognition. The sudden understanding that the person he was just talking about is standing right there. But Stephen has spent his entire life recovering from mistakes in real time, pivoting, adjusting, turning bad situations into opportunities. He's done it in boardrooms and courtrooms and everywhere else that mattered to him. So he does it now. He straightens, raises his glass slightly in Tyson's direction, and says with practiced ease, "Mike, good party, right? Casual, friendly. Like nothing happened. Like he wasn't just publicly dismantling Tyson's entire legacy 30 seconds ago." Tyson looks at Stephen for a long moment. Then he looks at the men around Stephen, looks at each one individually, not threatening, not scanning for threats, just looking, making eye contact with each man in the group, one by one, letting each of them know that he sees them, that he knows they were listening, that he knows exactly what was said and exactly who laughed. The men look away, one by one. Not dramatically, not all at once, just the natural human response to being seen by someone whose gaze carries weight that most people's gazes don't carry. Tyson says nothing, doesn't respond to Stephen's casual greeting, just looks at him now directly, holding the eye contact in a way that most people can't hold it back. Stephen's smile stays on his face, but it becomes fixed, artificial, the smile of someone performing confidence rather than feeling it. 5 seconds of silence. 10. The conversation around them, the ambient noise of the party, continues, but it feels distant now, like it's happening in another room. The immediate area around Tyson and Stephen has become its own world, defined by the silence between them. Tyson puts his water glass down on the nearest surface, doesn't look away from Stephen while he does it. Then he takes 1 step forward. Casual, unhurried, the step of someone moving through a room, nothing more. But it closes the distance and changes the geometry of the situation, and everyone in the group feels it. He says quietly, "Not for the group, just for Stephen. You said I'm just an ex-boxer." Stephen says, "I didn't mean it like that, I was just talking. You know how it is at these things." Tyson says, "You meant it exactly like that. And that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion." He pauses. The pause is short, but it carries something in it, something that the men around them can feel even if they can't name it. "But I want you to think about something." He takes another step forward, not aggressive, not threatening, just forward, the way a tide moves forward, inevitable, quiet, unstoppable. "You said I'm just a trained animal, someone who punches people for money, that I never built anything real, never accomplished anything outside the ring." Tyson's voice is calm, measured, the voice of someone who has had this conversation with himself 1,000 times, who has processed every criticism, every insult, every dismissal, and come out the other side of all of it, still standing. "You're right that I lost a lot of money, right that I went to prison, right that I made mistakes that most people would never recover from. I'm not going to argue with any of that. It all happened. It's all public. Everyone knows." He pauses again. Stephen's smile has disappeared completely now. His bourbon glass hangs at his side, forgotten. The men around him have shifted slightly, unconsciously creating space, giving Tyson room, giving the moment room. "But here's what you didn't say," Tyson continues. You didn't say that I survived, that I grew up in one of the most violent neighborhoods in this country and I survived it, that I went to prison at 25 and came out at 28 and I survived it, that I lost everything, money, reputation, family, and I survived it, that I fought through addiction and depression and grief and I'm still here, still breathing, still standing. He lets that sit for a moment. The party continues around them, but no one within earshot is listening to anything else. They're all listening to this. All frozen in place, holding their drinks, their conversations abandoned mid-sentence. You look at me and you see a failed businessman, Tyson says, a washed-up fighter, a cautionary tale. And maybe that's fair. Maybe that's what I look like from where you're standing. He takes one more step forward. Close now. Close enough that the size difference between them is obvious, not in height. Tyson is shorter, but in density, in presence, in the way he occupies space. But I'm still here. After everything that tried to destroy me, I'm still here. And the men who actually tried to destroy me, in the ring, in prison, on the streets, they couldn't do it. So I want you to think about that next time you decide to call me just an ex-boxer. He holds the eye contact for 3 more seconds, long enough to make the point, long enough for Stephen to understand that this conversation is over, that the lesson has been delivered, that there is no response that will make this better or change what just happened. Then Tyson nods once, a small, almost imperceptible movement, picks up his water glass, turns, walks back toward the pool area, back toward the night air and the ocean and the silence that exists outside rooms full of people who talk too much. He doesn't look back. The group around Stephen stands in silence, complete silence, not the awkward silence of an uncomfortable moment at a party, the silence of men who just witnessed something they can't process, something that didn't fit into any category they have for social interactions. Someone didn't get angry, someone didn't threaten, someone didn't posture or perform or make a scene. Someone just stood there and said the truth quietly, without drama, and left. Stephen opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. Nothing comes out. For the first time in years, Stephen has nothing to say. No pivot, no recovery, no clever response that turns the situation back in his favor. Just silence, and the hollow, uncomfortable feeling of having been seen, completely and honestly, by someone who has nothing left to lose and therefore nothing left to hide. One of the men in the group, after almost a full minute of silence, says quietly, "Maybe we should get another drink." They disperse slowly, moving back toward the bar, back toward their own conversations, back toward the comfortable world of money and deals and status that existed before Mike Tyson walked inside and changed the temperature of the room. Stephen stays where he is for a moment longer. He looks toward the pool area where Tyson is standing again, talking to someone else now, relaxed, casual, the same man he was before he came inside. Like nothing happened. Like the last 5 minutes didn't exist. But they did exist, and Stephen knows they did. And every man who is standing in that group knows they did. And none of them will talk about it tonight, won't mention it in the conversations that follow, won't bring it up at the next party or the next business dinner, but they'll remember it, all of them, for years, because Mike Tyson walked into a room where someone called him just an ex-boxer. And minutes later, no one spoke. Not because they were afraid, not exactly, but because they understood, suddenly and completely, that the man they were dismissing was not someone who needed their approval, or their validation, or their respect. He had already earned all of those things, in ways they could never understand, in places they would never go, against forces they would never face. And no amount of bourbon or money or status could change that. Not tonight, not ever.